Okay, welcome to Monarch Family Chiropractic Spinal Workshop. We are talking about preparing for sports, preparing your body for activities, preparing your body for movement, and it is for all ages. I think that sometimes as we grow older, we think we can do the things we used to do. I had somebody come in who decided they wanted to do the worm at a wedding and did the worm, and man, the body just doesn't move like it used to. And it really cost him a good 4 to 6 weeks of recovery time. I mean, it is, I guess maybe in hindsight, he might giggle about it, but man, during the time it was, my body doesn't move quite like it used to. Putting stress into my system that is not used to this kind of stress feels a little different now than it did back in the day, right? I share this because kudos to you who are showing up to get your chiropractic care and consistently taking care of your spine. And you need to do more than that, especially if you're going to be the weekend warrior or you're going to be getting back into some activities that your body hasn't gotten used to. Or if you are a kiddo and you are starting to get into sports. Again, kiddos aren't meant, and their systems aren't meant to handle intense workouts that we see happen in high school, college, and some professional athletes that you're seeing. They're growing and they're moving, and so we can see a lot of injury if we're putting a kiddo through a lot of intensity and a lot of training for a sport, which we see happen with kiddos at young ages at this point. So tonight is all about that conversation. And what we're going to cover is we're first going to look at understanding the brain-body connection and chiropractic's vital role. We're going to start here because I want you to understand how the brain works, how the brain is activating your body in terms of when you're going through dynamic movements and motions, like running, and how your same muscles in your body are working when it needs to be in a static posture and support, say, if you're doing a back squat and you got 250 pounds on a bar, right? Different, your brain is doing different things to activate the appropriate musculature depending on the movement that you do. And then we're going to look at how you can maximize performance through movement, and then what to do pre and post activity. So let's get started here. We're going to watch a video. It is long for a spinal workshop. It's about 5 minutes long, but it's done by Dr. Heidi Havoc. She is a leading researcher and chiropractor in the chiropractic world. She looks at the brain and how the brain changes with the adjustment. She's come out with some super cool research. One of my favorites is looking at, we see up to 20% increase of activity in your prefrontal cortex following an adjustment. What does your prefrontal cortex do? Executive function, goal-oriented tasks, decision-making, focus and concentration. It is how we perceive pain. It is how we respond to stress. So with just one adjustment, with the research that Heidi's doing, she's showing that it is amping up that ability to have executive function in your world, which is awesome, right? I think we could all use that. So we're going to watch this video and then we're going to get into it. So there we go. I want to go right here.
After many years of research, we now know beyond a doubt that spinal function impacts and changes brain function. Scientists call these changes that happen in our brains neural plastic changes. Neural plastic changes are happening all the time because our brain is continuously adapting to our ever-changing environment. When your spine is not moving properly, this leads to changes in the way the small muscles closest to your spine and skull send proprioceptive information to your brain. Proprioception means your brain's awareness of the position of your body. So it's your brain's ability to know where all the parts of your body are in space. The proprioceptive information that comes from the muscles closest to your spine and skull help your brain to know what's going on in your spine, which represents the core of your body. For your brain to accurately move your arms and legs, your brain needs to know exactly what's happening in your spine. This ability to move accurately, based on sensing what's going on in your body, is a process known as sensory-motor interaction. Sensory-motor interaction basically means your brain's ability to take all the information it receives from your body and your environment and put it all together to make sense of it, and then to create just the right sort of movements in response to that sensory information. For example, moving your hand to catch a ball that has been thrown to you. But how does this relate to your spine? If we look at spinal function in a very simplistic way, there are really 3 things you want your spine to do on a regular basis. Sometimes, for example, if you're running, you want your spinal bones to move in a synchronistic or harmonious manner to disperse the forces generated from the running. By moving in harmony, the forces are shared equally across your spinal bones, so no damage takes place. But other times, for example, if you are lifting a heavy object, then you want your spine to stiffen up to protect you. Without all your muscles stiffening up like this, you could injure yourself.
Jeez.
So how does your spine sometimes move and sometimes stiffen up? Well, your brain does this for you by activating the muscles around your spine and skull, which are called your paraspinal muscles. Your brain activates the correct muscles in the correct order to the correct degree with perfect timing to either allow for synchronistic movement, for example during running, or to allow your spine to stiffen up, for example during heavy lifting. In addition to this, your spine muscles also, at times, need to automatically respond during times when you're expecting some sort of postural challenge, such as a trip or a slip. If you are tripping over, you need your brain to automatically, without consciously thinking about it, switch on and off your correct paraspinal muscles very fast to help you maintain your balance and stop yourself from falling over. This automatic activation of your spinal muscles is also important during arm and leg movements to stabilize your body and prevent injuries. So when you have spinal dysfunction, or what chiropractors call a subluxation, your brain is simply not controlling the movement pattern of a part of your spine appropriately. For example, your brain may not be moving your spinal bones in harmony when it should do, or it may not automatically be responding to postural challenges at the right time. So how would you know if you were subluxated? Well, often you don't know because you might not feel any symptoms right away. They may end up causing neural plastic changes in your brain that lead to back or neck pain, but they may not. For some people, they may
Okay, I'm going to pause it there because I think that Dr. Heidi Havoc's video gave us a really nice representation of understanding how the brain plays a role in coordinated movement, in movement that is appropriate depending on what is happening in your environment, right? And I want you to think about sports in that same manner, that, you know, just like you are, I guess, playing a sport, you need to play it in a coordinated way, right? And it takes work to find a rhythm and a coordination with that, right? So when we're thinking about how our body is moving, you have to think about the gross motor movements, so the large body movements, right? Like large, big movements. Think about running, jumping, twisting, right? The fine motor movements, like the detailed movements. Okay, so if you think about somebody who is doing ballet, right? And they're going to point, they're holding that point, or they're doing fine-tuned movements to maintain that very challenging posture. Or I'm not a ballerina here. So, but those fine-tuned movements to hold or move into a dance move. Or you got the table tennis, right? I don't know if anybody watched the Olympics in the last couple weeks here, but seeing how those table tennis players, they're doing a lot of gross motor movement. They're doing a lot of stabilization, but doing a lot of fast movements too. So the angle of the paddle, now they're holding it, how they're putting spin on it. Or even when you think about soccer and basketball, right? There's a lot of gross motor, but then you think about how they're dribbling or handling the ball or shooting the ball with some fine motor precision. So we have to look at how is the body able to move in terms of gross motor movement, fine detailed movement. And then we have this proprioception. And proprioception is the sixth sense, right? We've got what we hear and what we taste, what we smell. That's how we process our world. What we see is huge. Motion and movement is huge. Touch. But that motion and movement, how our brain perceives where we are in space. And I know that my arm is behind my back right now because I just know it. I don't smell it or I don't taste it. I just know it, right? So proprioception is your brain's understanding of where your body is in space. And this is where chiropractic is just vital so that you can have coordinated movements, big ones, small ones, and how your brain and body understand where it is in space. I mean, I think if you look at the highest level, what are these athletes doing to support performance and recovery? They're getting paid millions of dollars to perform, right? If they're not performing, guess what? They don't get a paycheck and they get mass negative experiences from their fans, right? So the NFL, all teams within the NFL have a chiropractor on staff. Why? To make sure that this is happening. Coordination, recovery. Major League Baseball, they have 30 teams. Over 30 teams have chiropractors. And you look at the collegiate level or Olympic athletes, a lot of these guys have chiropractors on their healthcare team to support with coordination and a brain and nervous system that can quickly adapt and recover, right? So just because they're, pros and what they do is, of course, vital, what we are doing day to day is also vital. We are no less than our professional athletes, our collegiate athletes, our Olympians. What we're doing is vital to providing for our families, for contributing to our society in a very healthy way, right? So we need to make sure that everybody is supported, just like, the athletes that we watch on TV. So when we look at this, how do we maximize our performance through movement? So outside of the chiropractic component, I think we've got to look at what type of movement is going to feed the brain good, healthy information. And that's where you got to think about your warm-up. It's preparation for performance or priming your brain and structure. Okay, I talk about this every time there's a spinal hygiene workshop. Spinal ranges of motion. Your brain and your spine need constant healthy input, and your spine is made to get motion and movement. What we know is some scientists believe that our spine should maintain its health for 125 years if we're taught to take care of it on a regular basis. So this is one of the ways that we teach our spine to be taken care of is by going through its healthy ranges of motion. Our spine is meant to move all the time. If we're not moving it in a healthy way, it's not getting the appropriate information. It's not moving those tissues that attach from spinal bone to spinal bone, from your head down to, just all the tissues that attach along the spine to the head, to the shoulder, everything. So we want to just make sure that we're getting healthy motion. You're going to go lateral bends, rotation, flexion, extension. You can do, I would say 50 a day in each range. Break it up into 5 sets of 10. Okay, but certainly this is something that would be beneficial before you're going to work out, before you're going to rake the yard, before you're going to get jiggy with it at a dance, at a dance reception, right? It's like, oh, let's warm it up so I can be my best out there, right? Impress the bride and groom. Another great way to warm up your body is toe jumping or rebounding. Okay, I mean, just think about 100 toe bounces. Or one that I like is you can just rest. Sorry, you guys can't see me on Zoom, but you can go against the wall and just do toe bounces this way. Just doing 100 of those a day. Again, the bouncing requires a different type of engagement with the brain, right? It's activating and the stabilizing muscles to hold you in place while you're bouncing. Versus the range of motion is more of a gross motor movement, right? Different type of activity. So I love to do spinal range of motion and just toe jumping or bouncing, rebounding before a workout. Another great way, we did a workshop on flexibility and mobility. Mobility is looking at how a joint moves in its healthy range of motion, how strong it is to move in that healthy range of motion. So mobility is typically great when you're doing a pre-workout or before your workout. Flexibility and stretching is great after a workout. So stretching is lengthening and shortening a tissue. Okay, so you look at how your trapezius muscle goes into flexion and extension, right? It is the length that it is. So I'm going into the full length, not going anymore. It's like those Chinese finger traps, right? That's stretching, taking it through its range and back again. So we just worked out the muscles. We're gonna just shorten and lengthen and shorten it, right? That's great to do after a workout. And here's the thing. We are really great at linear training. We like to stay in one dimension and train in that way, right? Think about bicep curls. We're just training in this way. Okay, think about lunges. We just go down and maybe we go in reverse, but we're going forward in our lunges. We got to start thinking about how can we get out of our linear world when we're working out, because life does not come at us in this lane. It comes at us all over the place. So that's why athletes who train and are consistently engaging and working out their body, they're able to handle big shifts and changes because their reaction time is different. Their system has been trained in a way to handle those quick changes, right? Compared to the gal who went down the slide or the guy who was on the scooter, their bodies were not prepared for that level of change from their environment. A lot of demand and boom, they went down, right? So that's where we've got to just get out of our linear training and think about if we're going to do lunges, we're going to do lunges in a clock, right? We're going to go forward, we're going to go side, we're going to go this way, we're going to go backwards, right? If we're doing deadlifts, which I don't always love deadlifts, but maybe we're doing deadlifts into a rotation, right? Versus straight up and down, okay? If you're doing bicep curls, if you're doing bicep curls in circles, right? So it's how can you get out of a linear training model, because life is not linear. We need to be able to move in every direction, right? So it's thinking about how can you add in something that's different outside of this plane. Because all of that is really great for your brain. It's good information to make sure it's sending and receiving healthy input from the environment and your body so it can have good output. So when you're doing these things, it's preventing injury, really. It optimizes your athletic performance. Bigger than that, it optimizes your life performance, right? We want to make sure you are healthy and able to be adaptable and flexible no matter your age, right? If you think about, I think this swing is talking about golf, but you have greater flexibility in motion, right? No matter what you're doing. I mean, golf is a great example, or tennis, right? There's rotation in there. There's rotation. So if we're just training in a linear way, we're not really training the body to handle this type of, movement or force or input over and over and over. So somebody goes from, I haven't golfed all, it's winter coming into spring, golf is starting up, and now I'm going into 18 holes of golf every weekend. Stressful. You went from 0 to 100 and it's a lot. So you need to make sure your body is able to handle these types of different input with the things that you do. So it's allowing to follow through with the activity that you're doing without strain. It improves your muscle endurance. You see fewer aches and pains, less chance of injury, and then increased enjoyment of the activity or of the sport, because you're doing things not worried about hurting yourself, right? So there is really an injury prevention component when you're just thinking about taking care of your spine in a healthy way and doing it on a regular basis, right? more than just the chiropractic adjustment, getting good input and motion. Now the do's and don'ts. Watch what you carry. So keep ergonomics in mind and minimal, meaning, don't carry 10 bags. Don't try and load up your arms and things with, I don't know, I think about golf, right? And looking at if you're walking the course, do you have good ergonomics and a good setup in terms of supporting your body going through that motion, maintaining that stamina and that endurance for the 9 holes, the 18 holes. I would say choose to walk. Again, we're talking about how can you engage your body in a healthy way so that there's increased demand on you, you're able to handle that demand. So if you can, park in the furthest spot in the parking lot, if you always choose the stairs, if, an opportunity presents itself to, take a shortcut, say, no, I'm going to use my body for this one. So I would say always choose to walk. Walking elevates aerobic stamina and immunity. Now, this next one, leave painkillers at home. Somebody came in last week and they had a history of disc herniation. And a part of their recovery there, they were told 5 years ago, they were told, whenever you train, I want you to make sure you're taking your ibuprofen. So this guy trains 7 days a week or whatever he trains at. He was told to take an NSAID or a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, ibuprofen in this case, every time he trained to minimize inflammation, help him feel better. And he said, well, frankly, I take it if I feel good or not. Wow. So he has been hurting himself because ibuprofen is a major toxin to the liver. I dated a guy in college and he told me his mom was a nurse and his mom said, during hockey season, I want you taking between 400 and 800 milligrams of ibuprofen every day to get you through training, to help with your aches and pains. That's not healthy, period. It's not good medical advice, period. That's not okay. So if you are having to take ibuprofen or Tylenol, they're different, or Tylenol, or any type of pain medication to get you through your activity, there's something wrong. It's not okay. It's not sustainable. So pain is an indicator. It's important to understand your body. You do not want to mask it with medication and anti-inflammatories. Okay. So if that is a practice for you, or if you have any friends who that's a practice that they have, whether it's been recommended or not, they need to start. Somebody needs to share with them that they need to see a chiropractor. That's not okay. I want you to check your posture. We're going to look at the spinal toothbrush in just a second. But I want you to think about having the best posture no matter what activity you're doing, because you got to reinforce constantly how you need to carry yourself, how you need to activate your body, whether you're standing, whether you're going through a movement, or whether you're walking. Okay, so we'll go over spinal toothbrush. I would say think about hydration and soft tissue support. So are you making sure you're getting hydrated? Always add electrolytes to your water or salt to your water, fruit to your water to make sure your body's absorbing that. You can do magnesium supplementation. You can do Epsom salt baths, helps with recovery. And I would say get a chiropractic evaluation. If you already had that, make sure you're getting regular chiropractic care, period. Based on what we watched at the start of this workshop, we need to make sure our brain is well connected to our body and can process the movements and the environment and whatever demand is placed on us. We need to make sure our brain can process that appropriately. We need to make sure your structure is taken care of. So that should be a part of everybody's healthcare, is regular chiropractic care. We need to change what's the standard. It needs to be part of, mainstream healthcare, as people are just getting checked by their chiropractor for subluxation because they want to be healthy. They want to have a brain that's operating and firing on all cylinders. So Let's talk about the spinal toothbrush. Now I'm standing against the wall here, and I just want you to see what it looks like to have an anterior pelvic tilt, which is a pelvis that's shifted forward. Okay, so you can see here that my pelvis is shifted forward and it's really moving forward. Okay, you see this curve in my back right here. That is called an anterior pelvic tilt. So if you tilt your pelvis forward, I'm gonna have you watch me here. If you tilt your pelvis forward, you're gonna feel that does not feel good here. A lot of us are walking around like this. Dr. Kristen just did a great workshop on strong back. Our back is the entire barrel of the body. So we need to have a neutral pelvis, not posterior, not back, okay, which is the second one. And very few people have a posterior. You need to find the neutral posture. So think about, you have strings from the rib cage to the top of the pelvis, rib cage to the top of the pelvis. You want those strings taut. You don't want them loose on one end and pulling on another. Okay, you want them right at neutral here. So with the spinal toothbrush, so here I've got a posterior pelvic tilt. It doesn't really look like it, but I'm really working to keep that back. Oh no. Shoot, I put them in the wrong order. This one is my posterior pelvic tilt here. Okay. Clear drawings. So here's forward. There's back. Now with the spinal toothbrush, you're going to find the wall and you're going to find your neutral pelvis. Okay, so you're going to bring your pelvis back, say, okay, that's posterior, then you're going to bring it slightly forward. Then you're going to think about, you've got a string that's pulling you up. So your chest comes back, chin automatically comes back, okay, and you are going to be in an upright posture. Now with the spinal toothbrush, you need to reinforce this wherever you go. So you need to start walking around with a spinal toothbrush. You need to start doing the spinal toothbrush when you're performing complex movements or activities, when you're carrying something. You need to constantly reinforce this type of pattern in your body to activate the appropriate musculature. Okay, I love the spinal toothbrush. It takes a lot of work. The first time I introduced this to my practice, there was one person who said, I sat at the wall for a good hour because I was trying to figure out, where is that? It took her an hour to start to get connected to her pelvis to understand what a neutral pelvis feels like. Okay, so this is a really great exercise to do. And you just want to reinforce it in everything you do, right? Because 10% of our world is conscious, 90% is programmed, is automatic. So we just need to reinforce it with, when we're conscious of it, when you say, oh yeah, I need to be in my spinal toothbrush. Here it is, pulling up. Yep, there it is. Feels very different. You're very engaged and activated. Then you need to try and carry that through with activity. Make sense? Okay, if you want to go through this in the office, we're happy to. So I think sometimes just getting through this, you just need to be in a space for somebody to help you. Okay, so this is where I'll end. Who do you know? Who do you know who wants to be active and healthy? Who do you know who doesn't want to get injured when they're playing their sports? Or they're the weekend warrior and they're going to, they're training for their bike race or their race and they want to perform the best. Who do you know that's not seeing a chiropractor? That's the person you need to share this with. Okay, we need to, this is not Dr. Kristen in my practice, this is our practice. You know, we can't do this alone. And in order to start to shift, you know, the direction that we're heading in terms of health and vitality and a thriving aging population, we got to make some different changes. If you want the standard American lifestyle, then you're just going to continue living the standard American life. Living a vitalistic, thriving life where you can go out and do the things you love to do now and when you're retired, that requires work. That requires discipline and commitment. That requires intensity to show up for yourself now and forever. Life is with you. Your brain is working for you. So you just need to You just need to give it the right tools, right? So kudos to you for showing up, doing the work, being here with us. And my challenge to you is, who do you know who should be here with you? We love and appreciate you. Thank you for being here tonight. Love to hear your takeaways. This is the last live workshop. Then all the rest will be recorded for now. Dr. Chris and I will be recording workshops on a weekly basis. They'll just be uploaded onto YouTube by Wednesday at 12:30. That may change in the future, but just for now, that's what we're shifting to. We've really enjoyed seeing you all on Zoom, really enjoyed having you in the office. So we'll just have to engage differently in the office. When you do view these workshops, you're just going to have to let us know at the front. You're going to have to fill out your takeaways. You're going to have to make a comment so that we know that you're engaging with us. It'll just take a little bit. It's just a shift. So love and appreciate you. Thanks for being here tonight. And we'll see you on the flip side.